Hello everyone, and welcome to the Re-Illusion webinar for CrazyTalk 8. My name is Enoch, and I'm going to be your host for today. So this webinar will last for about an hour, and to start off, we put some important steps here to give you a better viewing experience. So the first, obviously, please adjust your audio settings to make sure you can properly hear me. Also expand the questions and chat section because at the end, we're going to be answering your questions via that area. And then obviously, try to optimize your internet bandwidth by terminating or canceling or pausing any downloads or streaming data from the internet. That way you can dedicate everything to the webinar. Now, if you experience any type of lag in the audio or the visuals of the webinar, don't worry, as we are live recording this. And at the end of the webinar, in about 2 hours time or so, we will have this video up online for you to rewatch on your own time. Okay, so let's start. So today's webinar is it's an introductory course for beginners. What we're going to do is that we're going to show you how to create 3D heads from a single image. Now, please be aware that the purpose of this webinar is to give you a very quick idea on how you can generate a 3D head from one image. We will not be doing two images for the side profile, and we will not be doing animation, okay? I can show you how to quickly do something, but again, the purpose of this webinar is to show you how to generate a 3D head from one single image. So this is the outline, just a quick introduction into CrazyTalk 8. Then we're going to dive into the live demo, finalize with the showcases and reviews, and then the Q&A at the very end. So let's start. So for those of you who are new to the webinar and new to the software too, you might be asking, well, what is CrazyTalk 8? What's the big deal about CrazyTalk? Well, CrazyTalk has been around for more than a decade, and I can honestly tell you it's one of the world's most popular facial animation tools. And what makes CrazyTalk so popular is the fact that literally anybody can use it. CrazyTalk is so easy that anybody can drop in an image and then use their own audio strength, their own audio, their voice or their own audio to generate an animation. This is because CrazyTalk does most of the work for you. It's got some beautiful algorithms inside that will analyze your voice and your audio, and it'll animate your character according to that audio. So when you think about it, it's pretty cool thinking that the software is doing all the work for you. Okay. So in the past, the previous version was CrazyTalk 7. We could only do 2D animations. We had a slight 3D movement, but it was a very restricted, only 15-degree angle from left to right. Now in CrazyTalk 8, we have real 3D because we're working with real 3D heads. Now this opens tons of avenues for the applications of CrazyTalk 8. Because just like in the past, you can still work on 2D, but obviously now you can work and jump to that next level of 3D. And because CrazyTalk is so easy to use and because the facial animations are so quick and so precise, then we have allowed people to, besides generating the 3D heads and their animations, we have allowed them to export this out. You can export this out to iClone 6, which is another 3D tool that we have, where you could attach this head and this script to another 3D body. You can also export this out to iClone's Character Creator, which is another new tool that we have, which is 100% free. Character Creator is a tool that allows you to build your own character from scratch by simply using sliders and morphs. And if you haven't heard of that software, then you might want to check it out. It's actually very, very cool. So the thinking behind CrazyTalk 8 is that in Re-Illusion now we want to create this entire ecosystem of applications. If you have been with us for several years and you have trusted us by acquiring software like iClone, 3D Exchange, the first versions of CrazyTalk and everything. So what we want to do is that we want to reward people for sticking around with us and believing in the company. And we're trying to create this ecosystem of tools that work with each other. So you can use CrazyTalk to do beautiful facial animations and create your 3D heads, and you can export this to iClone to finally create your final 3D model with face and body, and create body animations. And then you can export this out from iClone to other tools like Maya, Unity, Unreal, or what have you. So when you think about it, it's pretty nice to think that all these tools will work in synchronization with each other, and you can exploit the power of one with the power of the other one. Okay, so let's go into the live demo. Now, I'd like to remind you that we will have a section for Q&A at the very end. I'll try to dedicate about 10 or 15 minutes to answer all your questions. So please keep your questions until the end. So let's start with a live demo here. The first step that I'd like to mention, and this is very important, I can't stress this enough. With CrazyTalk, you need to remember several things when you import images. You need to remember what is a good image to import and what is a bad image, okay? So very important tips on the kinds of images. Number one, try to make sure that the photo that you take or the picture that you acquire is looking straight at the camera, that the face and the head is not pitching up or down or left or right. You want to be looking straight, number one. Number two, make sure that your face has absolutely no expression. Okay, I'll re-say that. No expression. I know many times when we take pictures, we tend to smile. But again, this is not for your Facebook or you know, a family photo. What you want to have is a neutral face, like a passport picture, looking straight at the camera with no smiling, no teeth, no expressions, no nothing. Okay, this will definitely make it a lot easier when you start animating in CrazyTalk. Another thing, and this happens many times with females, they like to have some hair in their forehead, you know, hair running across or in front of their forehead because they think that makes them look pretty. And obviously it might, but because you're working to animate the face, you need to pull that hair back. Okay, I've worked with several females. When I want to take their profile picture to animate, they insist on having that hair in their forehead because it makes them look better. But again, we're interested in animating that face, not the hair. So you need to pull that hair back, okay? And lastly, you should not have any type of accessories on your face. Accessories like glasses, okay? Because since CrazyTalk is using that image from the front side photograph, it's using all those textures that are on your face. So if you have glasses in your photograph, CrazyTalk will be using that as a texture on your final face, and it will not look good. So you need to take those glasses off and make sure you have no accessories on the face, okay? And oh, another thing, like as I mentioned, no expressions means no teeth. Do not smile. We should not be seeing any teeth. You want your lips to be closed. And this will make it easier when you start animating later on. So great. Let's dive into the second step. This is the face feature points inside of CrazyTalk. So once we import our image into the front facing image, then we start following the illustrated guide for the feature points. So for this, let me jump into CrazyTalk. Where are you, CrazyTalk? Hold up. Okay, so this is CrazyTalk. CrazyTalk 8, welcome everyone. And if you've worked with CrazyTalk 7, you might recognize a lot of the things that, well, it looks very similar. We have the top toolbar, which you can always dock and undock. We also have the left side toolbar. We have the timeline bar at the bottom. And then we have the content manager on the right, which we can dock and undock any way we like. So if you're working on a desktop PC that has two monitors, well, that's great. On one monitor, you can throw in all these panels and all these tools. And then on the other monitor, you can have the main stage window where you want to be working on. Okay? So let's create a character. The first thing we do, so before I start, let me show you what kind of project we're going to end up with. So I'm going to go up here to the Content Manager to Projects. I can also go down to Actor. We have Actor Styles, which is actors with different accessories, default actors. We also have the Actor Elements part, which carries all the parts that you can use, like virtual eyes. Let me go. Okay, I need a character to put this in. But we got virtual eyes, virtual teeth, hair, accessories, and also the type of body. So now with CrazyTalk 8, besides having the 3D head, we also have additional enhancements. For one, we can now finally attach virtual hair to our characters. We can also attach virtual accessories and also a virtual body. So now we can mix and match with what we have in the library. And then we have animation, which consists of the auto motions, which have been improved. Idle motions. For those of you who don't know, auto motions is basically a technology that we designed in Reallusion. It's a feature that literally animates your character's head, face, and body based on the audio strength of your voice. So I can drop in a character and then I can record myself saying, "Hello and welcome, how are you?" So every time I have an increase in my tone, the software will recognize that and it'll give my character this slight movement on that point. So it's basically reflecting my voice to generate an animation. When you think about it, it's actually very, very cool. So we have this in CrazyTalk 7, and we continue to have this in CrazyTalk 8, but it's even better. It's more enhanced, and we have some smoothing features. But again, this is not the point of this webinar. I'm just letting you know what we have so far. We also have atmosphere. This is well, the background, right? And what else? And backgrounds. One thing with the atmosphere, another cool thing with CrazyTalk 8 is that we have added physics, meaning that you have different lighting, and we also have wind effects, and we can turn this off or on. Okay, so a lot of great features inside. But let's start. Let me show you. I'm going to go to Actor, and we have the traditional 2D actors. So you might recognize this cat. It's a 2D cat image that we had from CrazyTalk 7, just like the 2D character here for the husband. So the difference is, in CrazyTalk 8, now we have 3D heads, like this Alberto here. And if I'd like to rotate this, I can go to the left side toolbar here, or I can press, I think it was the C hotkey or the X hotkey, I forgot. But anyways, I can rotate this slightly. Now, as I rotate it, you could see the lighting on the face of the character in the neck. So even though this is a 3D model, CrazyTalk only restricts you to move this character from this angle to the other one. Okay, so I'm talking about maybe a 45-degree angle from left to right. This is enough to give you that perspective to better work on this character. So let me center him. And this is what we're going to create. And what I'm going to do is basically use this image. I like to work with this image of Adrian. I like it because of her skin tone. She has some very good contrast from the center of the face and then on the forehead and on the edges of the face. So when we start generating a 3D head from Adrian, you'll see how beautiful that looks inside the 3D model. So that's why I like to use her face for this. So let's start from scratch. I'm going to Control N or Command N, depends if I'm on a Mac or on a Windows PC, and I am going to start. I'm going to go up to the top toolbar and I'm going to click on Create New Actor. And then I'm going to be prompted. Select actor type. Do you wish to create a 2D character just like we had in the past, or do you want to create a 3D one? So let's go to 3D. And we're going to start importing the image. Now before I start, I like to show you that now with these new panels, we can actually enlarge them. So I could select the panel here, go to the bottom right corner, and I can stretch this over. to expand. Now this works wonders because as I am working on all these beautiful textures and the pores and everything of the skin of my character, I might want to zoom in to have a better appreciation for all these details. So this is a nice little handy option that we have inside. So we also remind people of what is a good image and what is a bad image to import. So let's start. I could simply import front image and I can look for this inside of my whole folder, or as usual, CrazyTalk has the drag and drop feature. I can grab my image and directly drop that into my my CrazyTalk. Let me close this down. And oh, one more thing, I can actually zoom in. So on my mouse, if I scroll with my mouse wheel, if I scroll up, I will be able to zoom in. And if I scroll down, I will be able to zoom out. Now, there's one last thing I forgot to mention. When you take a picture, when you import an image, it is highly recommended that you bring in high quality images. Now CrazyTalk allows you to work with high quality images. What kind of quality are we talking about? Personally, I recommend you to work with at least 2K images. Okay, I'm talking about an image that's 2000 by 2000 in that vicinity of resolution. That is because with that quality, you will be able to bring in all this data for the skin. Okay, and the software will be able to process that skin better, and it'll look so much better if you have high quality images to work with. So that's one point to remember. So once we have that face inside, we're ready to go. I could rotate the image and, horizontal and do some correction, but we don't need that. We've done that before. Let me just go to next. And here we're going to start with the mark feature points. This is step 2. So just like in the past, what we want to do with CrazyTalk is that we want to follow the illustrated guide on the left, and we want to drop in all these points. And every time that I'm prompted to drop in another point, you can see that I will be reminded down here what that target point is. Inner corner of right eye. So when they give us a prompt here, you got to remember that this is the subject's direction, not our direction. Because from our perspective, if you say right eye, we might be thinking about this. But because we're talking about her perspective, then her right eye is over here. So remember that. So right eye, right there. Inner corner of left eye. Okay, outer corner. We do the nose tip right about there. Okay, right corner of the mouth. Center, left. And then we're going to do the outer edge of the right cheek, the jaw, then the chin, the other part for the jaw here, and the left cheek. Now, for this part here, for the outer cheeks, the best thing to remember is that you want to place these dots where the face is the widest, okay? Where you have the longest distance across the face, the width of the face. That's where you want to put those dots in, because that will determine the proper dimension of your face, okay? And then finally, we're going to drop in this point on the top of the skull. Now, many people might be tempted to put this way up here or right down here where she has her hairline, but that's not the case. Where we want to put this is the top of the skull. This again is very important because this will help us determine not just the size of her skull, but also part of the shape. So imagine that this is her skull over here, an imaginary boundary up here, and just try to center that. Let's say right there. That will be the top of her skull. Okay, and obviously I can click on that or click outside. I'm sorry, I can undo. Can I undo? Oh yeah, I can undo to remove that point and adjust. Okay, great. So once we're ready, we're going to go to next. Starting to initialize, and okay. So now we're going to go to the select face, select the right face profile. Now this part is very important. Again, you need to, depending on the gender of your image, you need to choose the appropriate face profile. So if you're working with a male, you will want to choose male and then a profile. And if you're working with a female, you will want to choose female and choose with a profile. And let me just move this to the side. Look at this face. Look how quickly CrazyTalk has generated a 3D head simply by dropping in these points. Even right now, without a lot of adjustments, this looks pretty good, if you ask me. So this is one of the powers of CrazyTalk now, of quickly generating this 3D head. But of course, we're going to perfect this. So male and female, that's the first thing you need to choose on your face profile. You might ask, well, what's the big deal? What's the difference? Well, obviously, because each profile has sub-profiles inside based on race and also based on specific features like heavy face, short chin, wide chin. Um, if you choose male, for example, these profiles will be a bit stronger. You're going to find them to be a bit more rugged. And if we choose female, these face profiles will be smoother, a bit more elegant. Besides that, if I choose female, by default, CrazyTalk will know that the type of eyelashes I put in are longer, okay, for female. Also, the body type that we drop in, CrazyTalk will already know that this is a female, and it'll give you the option for a female body type. And lastly, also the idle motions. The idle motions are basically background silent motions that CrazyTalk automatically generates for your character. So if I create an animation and then my character is idling, then CrazyTalk will resort to that idle motion to make my character sway and move from side to side to make it look natural. So those idle motions in a female character will be different from the idle motions in a male character. So again, gender is important. Once you choose the gender, then we can go into choosing the right face profile. I can choose base, which is the one by default. I can choose Caucasian, which if you notice, Caucasian will give me a longer nose and a rounder head. And I can choose back and forth from base to Caucasian. I can also choose Malayan, which will give me flatter facial features. The brows are not that pronounced as we have in a Caucasian character. I can also choose Asian, okay, and you can see that some of these features will change. Let me switch from Caucasian to Asian. Okay, in Asian, the face is flatter, and we sort of have the head, the back of the skull is a little flatter than what we would have in a Caucasian face profile. So the one I wish to use is the African one. And with the African one, you will have fuller lips. The jaw will be a bit larger, okay? And you can see the difference from Asian to Caucasian and to African. So it's really important to choose the correct face profile, and I'll tell you why. Because later on, when we're trying to use additional points to give contours to the skin, contours to the face, sometimes if we did not choose the correct face profile that have these points set in by beforehand, we have done a lot of work in creating these anatomy correct contours. So if you don't choose the right face profile later on, when you want to adjust the contour of the face with additional points, it'll be a lot more tedious and a lot more cumbersome. You have to adjust this and adjust that, and you're going to spend a lot more time. So the purpose of choosing the right face profile is to save you that time, because we already did the work for you. We have researched these anatomically correct features, and we have packaged these inside for your benefit. So you can quickly choose any one of these, and then after, you can try to customize a bit the contours if you'd like to, but you don't have to be starting from scratch. So besides having the race profiles here, I can also choose the features profile, like a big nose. Let's see how that affects Adrian. Okay, that's a big nose. I can also have her gain some pounds. I can click on heavy face, and you can see that. Look at that. She just gained, I don't know how many kilos right there. She had a pretty good vacation. Okay, I can also choose short chin, which is great for when you're working with young adults or even children. Okay, heavy face and short chin. And then the last one would be wide chin. And this is ideal for when you're working with superheroes or when you're working with males. Okay, this actually looks pretty good on her. I like this wide chin. But no, that's not the correct chin for Adrian. I'm going to choose the original one. This looks much better. Okay, so once we are ready, let's go to next. And then in the next part, we're going to be jumping into the contour and texture alignment. And this is where we're going to align all the face contours, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the face. So before I mentioned that when you choose the face profile, that is to make this part easier. And yes, it'll be a lot easier to do this part, if we chose the right profile before. So here on the left, we have the original image that we're working on with the wireframes that we're going to be adding. And then on the right, we're going to have the 3D face. So if I want to zoom out, I can do that. If I want to rotate left or right, I can click on the left mouse button and just drag. If I would like to pan left or right, I can just tap on the X button quickly. You'll see that my cursor changed, and I can pan. And if I use the right mouse button, I can still rotate. You can also choose these features here. I can go to Home. Okay. Let me go to Face first. We're on eye right and eye left. Let me go to Face. That way we have the entire face. So if I would like to camera pan, I can use the X hotkey, left to right. I can also rotate with the C hotkey. Okay. And I can zoom in or out. And if I would like to center, I just click on Home, and this will center everything. And then we have other stuff like front views, 45 degrees. What's the other one? Side view. Okay, so notice something here, that we never introduced a side image. We only worked with a front image. But CrazyTalk, being the wonderful software that it is, it already tried to generate that side view for us. And the way it did was that it captured some of this texture from Adrian's face, and it tried to transpose this on the side. And obviously when we chose the right face profile, CrazyTalk generated that head for us and that skull. Okay, pretty neat. So yeah, there's one other thing I'd like to mention. Depending on the computer that you're working with, if you have a decent computer, when I mean decent, I mean a powerful computer with a strong video card and processor and everything, you might want to turn this on. This is the preview resolution. This will toggle the resolution from high to low. So if I zoom in, you can see her skin, right? So we're on default, which is low. If I click this to high, you might see a change. So let me do this right now. Okay, I think you did. Now look at that. Can you see those pores on that 3D face? Now that looks pretty cool. Let me toggle this off so you can see it again. Watch the face. Off. And then on again. Especially on the nose, you can see that. So I recommend if your computer is 3 years, 4 years old, try to keep this off. But if you have a brand new computer and you want to flex those processing muscles, well, go ahead, crank it up to high, and you can appreciate these details better. Obviously, you can always turn this on, but if you notice that your computer fan is overworking or your computer is getting a bit warm, then you might want to turn this off once in a while. So personally, I like to keep it off until I'm working on that texture later on in the texture blending. So great, let's start. One other thing, we can also turn the eyelashes on and eyelashes off. So when we chose the gender, this will determine the type of eyelashes that we drop in. So let me turn this off and let's get to work. So let's go to eye. This is the first one, right eye. And there's two modes when we're working on this. The first one is the point mode. The point mode is when I click on a point and that point turns red. So now I have the ability to move that specific point. Now, if I click outside, I will exit point mode. And if I hover my mouse over the line or a wireframe, you'll notice that it turns green. This is indicating that if I click on it, I can turn on the line mode. So if I click on that, now the entire line is red, which indicates that I can move that entire line in one move. Okay? So let me bring this up here to her eyebrow and let it go. And then click outside and let me move this point in point mode and do this there. And I think that looks nice. Now let's work on the eyes. I'm going to zoom in onto her eyes. We're going to drop in these points. You might wonder, where do I want to have this wireframe? Is it on the very edge of the eye and the eyelids, or is it on the outside? Well, that depends. Many times I like to just trial and error things and just put them right on the line, or maybe a little higher. So you'll notice that we have 4 points here. So it's a good idea to encompass the pupil around these 4 points. Okay, and you can start seeing the result here, and that line that will give us the outline for the eye. I can bring this down, and you can see that line is dropping. Okay, right about there. Now, what I like to do is that as I'm working on this, I want to calibrate. I want to test this out to see what my eye is looking like. So if I'm just adjusting this right eye, I can quickly go down here to calibration. Click on eye, okay, and you'll see her 3D head, and I can click on blink.
Let's close the eyes
and you'll notice
and blink the eyes.
that in her eye, we're working only on the right eye, so ignore the left. You'll notice that we have a little
Let's close the eyes
white.
and blink the
We can
eyes.
still see the inside of the eye whites in this inner part over here. So we can correct that. A trick that we have is try to bring this upper point closer to the inside of the eye. And you can do this with this part too. Okay? And then you might want to go to calibrate again to test it.
Let's close
See,
the eyes
now that white part
and blink the
disappeared.
eyes.
That looks a lot better. So we can do the same for the other eye. We're going to zoom in. Let's work on these eyebrows first. Just like that. Okay. Then drop in this point here, right on the line. I'll bring this up a bit. Okay, and I want to bring this particular point in towards the inside a bit. Let's try to calibrate that.
Let's close
that
the
looks
eyes
pretty good.
and blink the eyes.
Okay, so obviously I'm doing a very quick job at this. You can play around until you get it just right. So next we go to nose. Now this is pretty cool. Here we have the central, you'll see the wireframe that we have. I can click on the entire thing and adjust the nose any way I'd like, or I can center it. Okay, and then I can start bringing these points down to try to match Adrian's real nose here. Bring this down, and then this one here, let's look at her real nose. There's a crease between her nose, the wing of her nose, and the inside cheek. So we want to bring that there, and we can always be appreciating. Let me click on X, or I'm sorry, C is it, to rotate. We can zoom out a bit, and we can appreciate that nose a little better. I like to keep it like that. Later on, I'm going to show you something really cool. Okay, or let's center the nose if we can. Bring this up a little. So as I'm moving on this left side, I'm always observing the right side for that 3D generation. Okay, that will look okay. What about this part here? Let me bring this up or down. You'll just get this shadow here. This is called the philantrum. I forgot the official name. It's that little area between your upper lip and your nose. It's got a name for that, so you want to get that just right. There's one more thing that you need to remember, a little tip I want to give you. The nostrils. Thankfully, in CrazyTalk 8, we have the ability of properly adjusting these nostrils, because many of us don't notice this, But when you look at an image and then you look at a 3D generated model of that image or that head, sometimes it just doesn't look right. And sometimes that's because the nose is not correct. Our eyes or brains are so well equipped to identify these small little variations in a face that we don't notice that some people have vertical nostrils and some people have a more horizontal nostrils and some people have something in between. So you might want to adjust this to get it just right. Okay, you might want to adjust this to emulate her real image the best way you can. So once we set up this initial wireframe on the outside, then we're going to start working with the volume of that feature. So you'll notice that if I hover my mouse over, there's different areas inside the nose. We have the outer nose and we have the inner nose. And both of these will toggle from grayish opacity to yellow opacity. So this will indicate that I'm inside the morph function. So I'm no longer, when I click on a point, I'm on the point mode. When I click on the line and it turns red, I'm on the line mode. But when I hover over a certain segment, a certain area, and it turns yellow, that means I'm on the morph, in the morph mode. And this will allow me to click inside this area and I can drag up or down or left or right, and this will allow me to morph that feature. So let me rotate the nose a bit so we can appreciate it better. I'm going to hover over the outer nose. Okay, let me move this a bit. And I'm going to click with my left mouse button and I'm going to drag upwards or downwards. And I'll notice that nothing really happens. So there's no function with up or down. So I'm going to continue holding that left mouse button and I'm going to drag to the right or drag to the left. And you can see how I am increasing the volume of that nose. Now this is pretty cool when you think about it. Look at that. Okay. So you want to play around with this until you get it just right. I like to rotate that image. Okay. So have a go at this part and have some fun. This is actually one of the coolest parts about CrazyTalk 8. And the same thing I did for the outer nose, I'm going to do for the inner nose. I can click in that yellow area, drag up, and you'll notice that the tip of the nose goes up, like she had some plastic surgery, or I can bring this down and give her a pointy nose. So you might want to get this just right. A good idea would be to have the other original image open. And that way you could be switching from one image to the other if you feel that this wireframe is covering the view of the original image. So that would be, oh, that looks okay. Let's see, maybe, let me fix this part better. I think that looks better. Let me move that side. Another thing you might want to remember, and this happens many times when we try to create an image with a Photoshop and we do a mirror copy from left side to right side, and it just looks weird. So one thing to remember, another thing to remember is that faces are not symmetrical. No, it's very, very rare to find someone that has a highly symmetrical face. Because no, there's variations from the left eye to the right eye to your cheeks to the nose, everything. There's variations in our face when we develop our faces. So nobody really has a 100% symmetrical face. So why should you generate a 100 symmetrical face? And that's the beauty of these line and point modes, that you can alter that left side and the right eye. And we don't allow you to do one side and then mirror the other one because that would just look weird. And now in CrazyTalk 8, it's all about natural looking faces. So you have to do one first and then do the other side later. And hopefully you'll make enough variations to give you that distinction and make your face look very natural. Okay? So let's go to mouth. And the same principle, I'm going to go a little quicker because we know the basics already. Let me bring these points down. If you feel that this line is too high up, then go into the line mode and bring it down and then just adjust these points to the center of the mouth, just like that. to the corner of the mouth. And you can start seeing all the virtual teeth inside that CrazyTalk is generating. Bring these lips here. And you know, the reason I love to work with Adrian's face is because she's got these beautiful, full, rich lips. And that just makes it really fun to work with. So just like we did with the nose, I could hover over the bottom part, click on that, and I can drag down, or I can drag up. Okay. And I can do the same for the upper lips. And if I rotate to the side, you can see that volume increase. So I like to give her bottom lips a fuller look. That looks really nice. Just like that. Now that is looking very nice. Okay, so then let's go to face. With face, you can start playing around with the contours. Remember when we dropped that point on the top of the skull? Well, this gives us that marking default point from where we can start off. And then CrazyTalk generated the slope for the skull on the left and the right side. And this is very important for when you want to generate that accurate head shape. Many times, that head shape will determine if the character looks authentic or it doesn't. Okay, and if you think it's too high or too low, you can always bring that point up and give her sort of a cone head look. No, that's not what we want. We can undo that, I believe. Let's see, Control Z. Yeah, we can bring that down. So I think we have a pretty good face with Adrian. Obviously, you can always play around with the forehead. I can click on that forehead area, go to the right, go to the left, and you could tone this to however you like, and obviously try to rotate this, because sometimes when you play around with these morph features and you're only looking on the front side, you're actually morphing part of the side image of the side generation too, and this will be affected. So you can do this with the cheeks, raise the cheekbones, you can drop the cheekbones. This is for the outer cheeks. You can also play with the inner cheeks. Look at that. Make her lose weight even more. Or plump up her cheeks like that. This is very cool. With the chin also, I can bring the chin. Okay, let me click on the chin. Right, a fuller chin. Left. Look at that. Now that's very cool. And just try to get it right. Just about there, I believe. So to be honest, many times I don't touch these features too much because I think CrazyTalk does a pretty good job at it. But obviously, go to town. You're going to love playing around with this. It'll take you 10, 15, 20 minutes. You can spend half an hour doing this, and you won't even know where the time went. So, oh, one more thing. Look at the ears. With the ears, we do give you this option for symmetry. When you're working with the point mode and the line mode, you'll have to do this individually from one side left and then do it again on the other side right. But when we're doing the morph, this will do it symmetrically. We will be working on the left and the right side at the same time. We believe this is because it'll save you a lot of time. If you have to do the point mode and the line mode on one side and also do the morphing, that'll just take too long. So we allow that variation with point and line mode, but we do give you that symmetry with the morph mode. So for example, in the ears, I can hover over the ears here, or let me go to the line mode, the point mode. I'm going to give her elf ears, okay? Again, with the point mode and line mode, this is not symmetrical. I have to do this one at a time. But when I want to morph that ear, this will be symmetrical. And I can pull these ears out, or bring them in, give her nice little elegant ears like that. Look at that. Now that is very cool. Great. Once you're done, you can go to all, and you can start tweaking things if you need, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and everything else. Finally, you can click on calibrate and have a go.
Let's close the eyes and blink the eyes.
Okay. You can also calibrate the look function.
Let's look up, down, left, right, and roll the eyes.
Okay, don't worry about those eyes right now because obviously we're using the texture from the eyes, but later on we can drop in virtual eyes. And then mouth, obviously. I can play with the teeth and tongue depth. And I can also try to generate some lip syncs for her mouth. Let's say vowels.
Let's try some vowels. A, E, I, O, U.
You'll notice that the lip syncs now look better. This is because we have enhanced the lip syncs in CrazyTalk. Now, it's funny because before we had about 12, I believe, phoneme in size, but now we have up to 32 or more because we have morphs between vowels and consonants and vice versa. So CrazyTalk 8 now comes with this much richer phoneme library that'll make the animation even better than before. Great. So we're running out of time. Let me go into the last section here. That would be the texture blending. Okay. So for the texture blending, once we're done here with the front fitting, obviously if we would have imported a side fitting, I can go to side fitting and I can play with all these side functions. But we didn't do that, and we're not going to do that in this webinar. This is just for one image. But even with one image, we generated a very, very good head face here. I'm sorry, 3D head. Look at that. Okay. That looks pretty good. So the next part, let's go into texture blending. Now, for the texture blending, we have, because I was working with a front image only, we have 3 blend types. We have level 1, level 2, and level 3. If I would have imported a side fitting, a side image, we would have up to 6 different blend types. So what are the blend types? The blend types are basically the amount of front face texture that the 3D image will be pulling from. So here, for example, look at her face. This is level 1. I'm going to click on level 2. Keep on looking at her 3D face. Level 2 right now. So you'll see that more of her face texture, original face texture, was wrapped around the outer areas of her face. And then if I go to blend type 3, this will bring more of her forehead texture to that generated forehead here. Now you might wonder, okay, well this looks good, but what about this other skin tone on the rest of her head? CrazyTalk is trying to emulate the best it can from the original face textures. That's how it's gathering. It's automatically trying to gather that skin tone for the skull. But you can give CrazyTalk a lending hand. What you want to do is select the skin color. You can click this color picker, and then, hold up, color pickle? Oh, wait. There we go. We got the droplet in already. And I can go to the original image, and I can sample different areas of her skin tone. Let me give you a little dark one. This one looks good. Okay. Now, if you still think that there's a variation between her forehead and the skull, you can always bring back the blend type and tell CrazyTalk, don't use all that texture material for the entire head. Okay. I think that will look good. So my recommendation is when you're working with one single image, I think blend type 1 is more than enough for that. Okay, so let me go into the next part, which would be the skin roughness. For this, I'm going to zoom into her skin, and I will turn on the preview resolution to high. Okay, look at that. Look at the change that we have. I'm going to turn this off. Look at her skin. And I'm going to turn this back on. See, this looks very, very cool. That's why I recommend please work with high quality images so that CrazyTalk can do a better job at bringing in that texture. So if you're working here on the left side, we have skin roughness. I can turn this off, or I can turn this on. Okay. If you're working with a female, I recommend that you keep it on you keep the skin roughness on fine. And if you're working with a male, you might want to choose rough. So let me zoom in here so that we can see this better. Okay. So I'm going to click on rough. Look at her skin. See how that changed? We have more pores. Let me go back to fine. Okay, slight variations. I'll go back to rough. Okay, and I'll go back to fine. And then obviously you can play with the pore size. Let me go to rough one more time, and I can play with the pore size. I can increase this, or I can decrease the pores. Look at her face. Pore level 1, pore level 10. Okay, so you can play around with that. We can also adjust the strength. So if I go to pore size in 9, I can increase the strength. You can see CrazyTalk is giving her bigger pores. You see the difference? Bringing that down and bringing that up. Okay, so you want to find just that right, nice level. So I'm going to go to fine. Pore size is okay. I like to drop it. She's a female. Female take very good care of their skins. They have nice little smooth skin, so that looks best. And that would be it. That would be it. In the end, obviously, fixed mouth texture. I can play around with the texture for the mouth, but that's okay for now. And that would generate a very quick 3D head based on one image. Look at that. That looks pretty good. Now, if I think that she looks that she needs a little more meat on the bottom, then obviously I can go to front fitting and I can play around with that bottom jawline. Oh, too much. And I can plump up her cheeks a bit to give her a much fuller look, and in order to have the appropriate look from the original image. Great. So once you're ready with all this, you might want to click on apply, and this will generate your brand new 3D head in CrazyTalk. Obviously, we don't have the type of hair that she had there, but with CrazyTalk, we do have some accessories that you can add. I can go to Actor Elements, and I can go to Hair, and then I can choose some of the hair types that we have here. They won't, not all of them will look appropriate. Actually, this one looks nice. I kind of like this one. So in Reallusion, we have heard people's suggestions on applying new types of hair, more variations in hair. So we do have a content pack called Party Fun that gives you that ability to add different types of hair. Okay, and we will be expanding this later on as we go about. We will be bringing in more different hairstyles in the near future. So great. That is the live demo for CrazyTalk. I hope you liked it. There's a lot of really cool tips about this, and I actually went over my time limit as I got excited sharing all these tips with you, but I really hope that it helps you in your projects in the future. So let me jump to showcases. A lot of these, since CrazyTalk 8 is fairly new, it's only a month old, then a lot of these showcases obviously are for CrazyTalk 7. So I'm not going to go into these too much. I'm going to skip over them. You can always watch them if you'd like. Some pretty cool showcases that you can find on YouTube. Creative ideas on how people generated animations with CrazyTalk. Then the reviews, let me jump this all the way to the Q&A for these last minutes here. So if you have any questions, please write them down in the Q&A right now, and I will try to answer as many as I can in the next 10 minutes or so. So first one comes from Wallace. Wallace says, after a month and a half wait, I received my CrazyTalk 8 pipeline today for Mac. Great. Congratulations, Wallace. You have no idea how many emails we've been getting from people saying, where is my Mac version? For those of you who don't know, we released the Windows version in December, but we had to take a little more time porting the Mac version of CrazyTalk 8 because we wanted to adjust some stuff inside. So if you were patient to wait for this, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We wanted to give you the best possible product. So I hope those 30 days waiting were worth it. It says, it will not open states illegal seeker. So you got your Mac, but you're having some issues. It will not open. Okay. For this, Wallace, I highly recommend please get in touch with customer support, and you can put in a ticket, and they can help you with this. Let me show you. Go to reallusion.com. Hold up. And then go into the top toolbar, Learn and Support, and click on Customer Service. Okay, you need to be a Reallusion member for this, so you might want to log in with your email and everything and your credentials, and then you can Send them a message and let them know what the issue is, and they will try to sort you out on that. So let me go back to the next question. Hold up, hold up. Where are we? Wallace says, will I be able to use CrazyTalk 8 pipeline for Mac with other programs? Yes, you will. I believe that pipeline at the moment allows you to export your animations as a video, an image sequence, but you can also export your 3D head to iClone's character creator and iClone's, and I'm sorry, and Reallusion's iClone. The problem is that iClone and Character Creator are only available on Windows version at the moment. So I am not sure if you can export your head as a, hold up, as an FB. Export head, RL head, Character Creator. So unfortunately for the Mac version, it is a bit limited at this point because we do not have a Mac version for Character Creator or iClone. You might have to wait on that for a while. Okay. Wallace also asked, will iClone 6 be coming out for Mac? We've always had this question. Unfortunately, we will not have iClone 6 for Mac. Probably for iClone 7, but no promises on that. For many years, people have been asking us about this, but it's all about resources in our company. We're working on so much other stuff. Obviously, we're still trying to improve iClone 6, so I'm afraid no, not at the moment. Another question is from Tom Nesser. He says, I'm especially keen to learn how to use the green screen with CrazyTalk so I can impose a character onto other videos. Can you help? Oh, yes, absolutely. So when you do your animation, you could export this as a video. So let me go to export video up here. Let's say I did an animation. I can export. And then you can export this as an AVI, MP4, or WAV file. Now, I'm on the Windows version here, so I do not have the ProRes of 4444 format. If I were working on the CrazyTalk 8 Pipeline Mac version, then I would have that export function to export as a ProRes 4444, and that will allow me to have an alpha channel or a removed background in my video. Now, if I don't have this, because I don't have this for Windows, my recommendation would be this. Finish your character animation, and at the very end, drop a bright blue or a bright green screen, a green screen, and export that video as it is. Later on, you can grab that video and you can chroma key this in Premiere. You can chroma key this in iMovie and in any other video editing software to remove that background, and that way you can superimpose your video with your head with another video in the background or anything you like. So that's a little trick. If you're working on the Mac version, I believe that you can simply remove the background, export as a ProRes 4444, and you will have that alpha channel built inside. Now, for those of you who have been with Reallusion for a while and you've heard of what's the Pop Video Converter 2, this is a software that we had about 3 or 4 years ago that would automatically chroma key the background of any green screen or blue screen video. We will have Pop Video Converter 3 that's going to come out next month, and this will be part of the ecosystem to work with CrazyTalk 8, iClone, and everything else. So you will be able to export your video with that bright or green screen, and then in Pop Video Converter, you will be able to remove that, to chroma key that background inside the software. So that can be a little tip. Another question comes from Monica. Monica says, remember, there is a lag. So many of these motions you're doing are lost because of the latency. Yes, Monica, I'm sorry about that. Many times it's difficult because we have attendees from all over the world, and the webinar has to stream to everyone. So in order to offset this, we are recording this live, and you can find this video on our YouTube channel. Hopefully in about 2 hours time, you will be able to see this video. We will be sending you a thank you email for joining the webinar, and inside that email, we will give you the video link for this webinar so you can rewatch it when you have time. One other thing to remind you is that as a thank you for joining the webinar, we would like to give you a $10 gift card for the Reallusion Content Store. We only ask you to please help us improve the webinar by answering the short survey that we have at the end of that email. Okay, so remember to check your email inboxes for that gift card. Let's say 2 more questions as we're running out of time right now. A question from Ali. Ali says, hi, do you have any plans to provide a plugin to create hair? Because hairs are the most important thing. Ali, you're right on the money, buddy. Yes, I'm not sure if it's going to be a plugin, but we do have plans for people to create better hair for Character Creator, for iClone, and obviously I believe this will be implemented in CrazyTalk 8. When that timeline is, I don't know, but our company is very aware that people want something to create hair with. So it's in the development, but I'm not sure. I'm not even sure. No, I'm kidding. I'm not sure if it's in development, but I know it's in the discussions and in the plans. So we're just going to have to wait on that. Question from Mark. Mark Ress. Hello, Mark. It's been a while. Mark says, can we export these talking heads for use with green screen projects? In other words, I'd like to add some of the 3D heads to other existing videos, but how to make the background transparent? Well, as I mentioned, there's 2 things you can do. I believe you can remove this background by going into, hold up. We used to have a function. Is it preview? No, it's not that. We used to have a function to remove that background. I'm going to have to get back to you. The only thing I can think about is you importing a bright green or bright blue screen or green screen in that background and just exporting as a video. Once you have that video, then obviously you know what to do. You can chroma key that background in any other 3D editing software. Okay. Pascal says, what about the side image? How to use it? Yes, the side image, Pascal, there's a bunch of other stuff we can show you, but as I mentioned, for this webinar, it's just the one image fitting. So the purpose of this webinar was to give you those basic tips for that one image. We will have another webinar for 2 images. So if you'd like to know more about that, or if you'd like to join, simply go to reallusion.com and go to the bottom here and click on webinar. And my coworker, Kai Deneve, he's going to have another webinar on how to create 3D heads. And in this webinar, Kai will be showing you how to use 2 images, the front image and the side image. And he does a beautiful rendition for this, which he applies for game engines and other applications. So you might want to follow this webinar that he has. Additionally, you can always go to our YouTube channel, Reallusion YouTube, and we have tutorials that cover this part on the side image. Let's see. Monica says, what happens if you have a picture of someone with glasses? Well, obviously, Monica, because CrazyTalk is using that same texture to morph and stretch to create an animation, then it's going to look weird when those glasses are on your face. So I recommend take those glasses off, and then later on in CrazyTalk, you can look for accessories to drop in. Where are we? Let's see. I can go into accessories, and I believe that we have face, glasses, and some other stuff. We might have limited options for the glasses, but we will be bringing more stuff online pretty soon. Again, CrazyTalk is new, so we're still developing some of this content, but stay tuned, and we will have more of these content packs. One more question. I'm out of time. Let's see. The last one from Sarah. Sarah says, how do I save the image I just finished to access it again? Okay, so you basically want to save this. What you could do is just simply save this as a project. I think that's what you're talking about. You want to save those points to later access them later on. So if I save this file, for example, let's say I'm going to go to custom, 3D head, and I'm going to save this as Adrian glasses. So I can save this quick project, and then let's say tomorrow I want to work on her again. I just open that project up, click on Adrian. Oh, sorry, let me stop the playback. And you can go back up here to head fitting. And you can continue working on those points that you had before. You'll see CrazyTalk will save all these points that you worked on inside that 3D head. So that's a pretty neat way of reworking on your project later on. Great. So that's all the time we have, people. Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it. And a reminder, please remember to check your email to answer that survey and claim your $10 gift card. Okay? So thank you again. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Okay? Bye-bye.